Branching Out with Sierra. We are over 100 episodes in. We're in season 3, and I've had a lot of conversations. And so I thought this season it would be helpful to take a look at all those conversations I've had and what patterns have emerged. You have to understand, I've talked to folks in all sorts of different industries, all sorts of different places in their career and life in general. And so it's been great to be able to look at that over time and see what patterns have emerged. So we're going to kind of go with this theme this year when I'm doing solo episodes of 100 conversations later, what leadership actually looks like. This segment is brought to you by Work Smarter Digital. If your follow-up moves slower than DMV traffic, it may be time for Work Smarter Digital. Work Smarter Digital gives small businesses a fully built, ready-to-run CRM sales system so you can stop wasting months setting up software and start following up tomorrow. This is your sign. Get the CRM. Get the system. Get moving. Visit WorkSmarterDigital.com to learn more and book a demo. That's WorkSmarterDigital.com. And so each of these episodes, I will be digging into one specific aspect of leadership that I've noticed a pattern within. But in today's episode, I really wanted to take some time to kind of give you an overview of some of the things that we're going to be talking about this season. This is not just a summary. This is just to get you thinking about some of these things for your own life and your own leadership, because I've noticed after over 100 conversations that what seems to be coming up time and time again is people aren't struggling because they lack skill, they lack the talent. They're struggling for a lot of different reasons, things that have to do with burnout, with alignment, with not having a clear picture of what success looks like for them. There's so many different things that are coming up as we discuss the challenges in leadership. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to unpack a few very briefly, and there will be future episodes on all of these for me to dig in and provide some additional resources. So one of the things that I've noticed after 100 conversations is leadership is much more human than you'd think. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So a lot of struggles that people are coming to me for that I hear in my one-on-one sessions or even in team meetings with bigger organizations, it comes down to challenges with communication and relationships and emotions. It's all people related, the human related side. And by the way, this journey in leadership has helped me to have a better understanding of what folks in human resources have to deal with on a regular basis too. There are a lot of human-related challenges, whether it's emotional intelligence issues coming up, difficulties with insecurity might be something that comes up. There's a lot of different things, but a lot of times people say, if I just had better leadership training. Well, a lot of people, when I go to have training with them, they seem to know what to do. They already know the what and the why they should do it or how to effectively lead. They might even know what the best decision is for them when a challenge comes up. But when it comes to something like when emotion is involved, there's pressure in that way, or you have to face a difficult conversation or something related to identity or relationships, that's where I tend to see a lot of things come up. And honestly, that's the foundation of everything else. And this is why one of the most common topics that organizations have me come in to speak about is communication. It's really how we are able to build trust, and everything comes from that. So I know we've heard this specifically when I talk about this pattern of human-related problems. We've heard it with business owners talking about their team dynamics and how to navigate those things that come up when, personalities aren't always a good fit for one another. It's like I said, with folks avoiding those difficult conversations or being overwhelmed but by what feels like conflict. It might feel like conflict to them, but maybe not someone else. or a lot of times people trying to find that balance between empathy and accountability. How do I hold someone accountable but also show that I care about them? And then time and time again, we hear of people carrying this weight of leadership, this pressure silently. But it's very helpful to have someone else to talk to about it because you realize you're not alone. So, that is something I am going to take the time to dig into in a separate episode where we think a lot more about how these issues are showing up day to day. What are those quote unquote human related problems that folks are facing? Another pattern that has emerged across all of these conversations is people tend to feel burnt out right now and they feel like they're lacking motivation. And I've had a lot of conversations with people who say, I used to always be super motivated and now I'm not motivated to get out of bed in the morning. I don't want to go into work. The motivation just isn't there and I can't figure out why. And I'm finding that I feel like people are overwhelmed with the amount of noise going on in their lives, whether it's the amount of information that they're consuming on a regular basis, or the number of options that we have and decisions that we have to make, or pressure that people are putting on us to follow a certain path, do a certain thing based on what is normal, quote unquote, for people where they are in their career or where they are in life at the time. But it's not that these people don't know what to do. It's that they're so overwhelmed by all the things that it's hard to take action. And so something that I have been thinking a lot about is how clarity is really what helps these people to move forward. They have all the things going on around them, but when it comes to knowing where to go from here, they don't have clarity in what's in alignment in their lives. So as you're consuming, for example, this podcast or reading books or watching reels and you're exposed to different strategies, it can all feel like noise to you because you don't have clarity yet. And so something that's come up in several episodes is how you determine what matters most in life right now, or how to simplify things and only focus on a couple of areas at a time. So instead of having such a scattered focus, you can determine where to spend your time and energy. And that doesn't mean forever, but for a period of time. We've also talked about identifying core values and making sure that, when you're feeling overwhelmed or you're not sure how to make a decision, are we in alignment with our values? That's that filter for decision making. So like I kind of had said before, it seems like people know enough. They have the knowledge to take the next step. It's not that they're not capable. It's just that they're not clear. So if that is something that you are struggling with, that's something we're going to spend an entire episode on this season, making sure that people are differentiating between when it's a motivation issue and when it's a clarity issue. If you feel like you're having difficulty focusing, which I feel like that's a problem for almost everybody you talk to now because our attention spans. But beyond that, you are constantly looking for the next thing, don't know where to go, what to do, and you feel exhausted by all that. Be on the lookout for an episode where we unpack this idea of clarity versus motivation a little bit more deeply. So that's another one of the things that have emerged so far in our couple of seasons here. So the next thing I want to talk about is confidence. I have found after many conversations that almost nobody that I've talked to felt fully ready when they started something. They weren't certain that it was all going to work out. They weren't certain that they had the knowledge or the skill set necessary. Most of them just did it anyway. They started scared. They figured it out while they were going. They pivoted constantly until they found the proper path for them. So this confidence piece came up a lot over the first two seasons. And I find that a lot of people, including me, feel like you have to have it all together. You have to have the perfect plan before moving forward. And I think that this has really proven to me that the confidence comes after you've started. The confidence will come and be created once you start to move forward, you gain experience, you show up consistency. That's when confidence comes. But you're not going to have the confidence before you start. I know that I've talked many times about when it came to starting the podcast or even starting my business, I didn't have any confidence in doing it whatsoever, and I'm still not sure how confident I am in it today, but I definitely am more because I started. Whereas I sat there so long spinning my wheels because I felt like I had to have it all together and know it all before I began. So I learned a lot from people who have pivoted and chosen a different career later in life. Folks taking risks, kind of reinventing who they are and pushing through discomfort over time. So that is something that I want to have a future episode on. People that are choosing to do meaningful things that are important to them in life, don't seem to wait until they're fully confident to begin. So if that's something that resonates with you, be on the lookout for an episode in that area as well this season.
Your leads aren't ghosting you, you're ghosting them. Work Smarter Digital gives small businesses a fully built, ready-to-run CRM sales system so you can stop wasting months setting up software and start following up tomorrow. Don't leave your revenue hanging. Start working smarter today. Visit WorkSmarterDigital.com to learn more and book a demo. That's WorkSmarterDigital.com. You don't need more information. You just need a way to follow through. Aspire to Achieve is a monthly group accountability experience designed to help you stay consistent, raise your standards, and actually execute on what you say matters. Each month, we come together to make clear commitments, talk through challenges, share strategies, and celebrate progress, all in a space that keeps you focused and moving forward. It's simple, it's supportive, and it works. If you've been setting goals but struggling to stay consistent, this might be your next step. Check it out in the show notes or at SierraLearnership.com. That's SierraLearnership.com. This year's lineup brings real-world experience from business, media, government, and leadership at the highest levels, including a former FBI Chief of Staff, high-performing sales leaders, communication experts, and business strategists. This isn't theory, it's real leadership. Join us October 14th and secure your seat at thetsls.com. That's thetsls.com.
The fourth pattern that has emerged amongst these conversations is that the best leaders are always learning. They always stay teachable. And this wasn't really surprising to me. This is why when I created my business name, I called it Learnership instead of Leadership, because I know that leaders have to be lifelong learners to be effective. But this has allowed me the opportunity to sit down with a lot of people and ask about the things that they're still learning, the questions they have, where they want to grow. And these people, no matter where they are in their career, they don't feel like they've arrived yet. There's always room for growth. There's always room for improvement. So I feel like those successful guests that I've had are really still trying to get feedback from others, be open to the ideas of others, try new things, and embrace growth. So I know that has been important for me from the very beginning. I like to go back and even look at old content that I've studied years ago and try to look at it through a new lens. And then I can see how my perspective is evolving over time and develop my own leadership philosophy. So I think the people who continue growing are usually the people that admit that they have more to learn. I have a lot of clients right now who are doing anonymous surveys and giving them out to the team around them and asking for feedback on how they're communicating, how folks feel supported or not supported. Are they getting the resources they need to be successful? And the fact that they're open to this, even if they know they're not going to love what they're hearing, it is going to give them the information they need to determine where to go next. So sometimes we might feel defensive when we get that feedback, and it might be hard for us to hear those things or make those changes. But I want to spend an entire episode talking through why teachability might be one of the most underrated leadership qualities that we really should be focusing on. So if you feel like you have hit the pause button on your growth and learning and it's time to get back into it again, be on the lookout for that future episode where we spend some time talking about where we can more intentionally grow. Number 5, pattern number 5, this kind of connects to something I was talking about earlier when it comes to clarity / misalignment, that burnout is not that you're just busy. Okay, everybody's busy. I feel like we're all moving at the speed of light, but it's because priorities aren't clear and you don't feel like you have clarity as to the expectations that have been set forth for you. And so what are you working towards? What is most important, or does everything feel of equal importance? So I find that the people who've talked about burnout are focused on people pleasing, which has always been a challenge for me that I've openly talked about. I'm getting over it. It stems from overcommitment, being that yes person, thinking that means you're supporting other people, but realizing that you don't have anything left to give. Maybe you don't have clear boundaries, and that's something that needs to be worked on in order for you to kind of get some greater balance in your life and focus on what you need first, and then your cup is full and you can give to others. So I know that whether you're listening to this and you're a business owner, or if you are not a business owner, you don't have a specific title, you're a parent, and you are thinking about how you can have greater influence in your home. I know that we've all felt burnout at some point. My hope is that you come back for the episode where we talk about how alignment and clarification will help you. You're not alone. Life just might not align with who you're becoming for this next stage for you. So be sure to come back and check out that episode. Pattern number 6, relationships. This is about relationships and how they shape everything. I was just talking about this morning, I was facilitating the kickoff of the Arising Leadership Program through the Top of Virginia Regional Chamber, and this is with rising juniors and seniors. And when I was sharing this morning about DISC, and I mentioned I was a DC, I said that side is completely task-oriented. But I've had to really work hard on the people-oriented piece, building relationships and getting to know people. A lot of my conversations have talked about the value of networking. I never would have thought that I would have been such a big proponent of getting out there and networking and building relationships, especially with as introverted as I am. But that became a crucial part of building my business. I had to get out there, get to know people, not stand in the corner and talk to the same people every month at a networking event. I had to set goals for myself to really put myself out there. I find that growth really doesn't happen alone. That's rare. You have to surround yourself with people that are giving you new perspectives, that are helping you develop new skills. Find someone to mentor you. So that is something that has been a theme that has popped up over the last 2 years. You know, the guests that I talked to, they're talking about the mentors that believed in them, who's helped them to develop, or, you know, how the community as a whole has supported them in their growth of their business, or just personally or professionally. So there are all these different support systems that we can have, but it all comes down to thinking about how relationships can foster growth and how growth rarely happens in isolation. So if you're feeling isolated, you feel disconnected, or don't feel supported, I encourage you to come back for that episode where we talk about how influence comes into play and explore the role that relationships play in both your personal and professional growth as well. And then finally, lucky number 7, there's way more than 7 patterns that I've seen across these couple of years, but we're just going to start with 7 to give you an idea of what's to come in solo episodes during this season. So for lucky number 7, we're going to talk about that concept that I kicked off in the very first episode, and that is the idea that you don't have to have a title to be a leader. With a lot of the guests that I had come in, they never even thought of themselves as leaders for the longest time, or they were having a major impact and they didn't even have a title yet, but they were still influencing people every day, and they were trying to be intentional with that influence. So a lot of times leadership is understood as having authority, right? Having power, having status, but really it's about influence, and influence is something that we all have when we're parenting, in our relationships, in the workplace, in your community, everyday interactions. These are all opportunities to influence. And so I know that I've, asked so many guests, when did you first see yourself as a leader? I didn't see myself one until I was like 30 years old, but that's because I was going off of the wrong definition. At that time, I truly attributed leadership to a title or having authority and more of a hierarchical leadership. So this has been really the core mission of the podcast, is helping to redefine leadership for everyday life. It's very important for me to share that with others since I learned it so late in life. I was even talking about it with those high school rising juniors and seniors today, because if they can learn that now, they can be so much more intentional with the influence that they have, whereas I don't think that I was, because I didn't realize I had it. So some of the most impactful leaders I've met would never have even called themselves leaders. So I know that it wasn't just a Sierra thing. It seems like a lot of people are experiencing this. So those are just some of the patterns that have emerged, and I'm really excited to be able to spend time on each of them and many more this year. So we have lots of great guests coming up this year, some coming back for a second time, but actually a lot of new faces, a lot of new ideas that they'll bring to the table. And I am really looking forward to being able to do deeper dives into these themes that have emerged 100 conversations later.
Do you want to accelerate your revenue? Call Work Smarter Digital. Work Smarter Digital helps service-based businesses tighten up their sales process, improve follow-up, and put better systems behind their growth. Because when your sales process is messy, revenue gets messy too. Visit WorkSmarterDigital.com to learn more and book a demo. That's WorkSmarterDigital.com. This isn't just a local event. It's a regional gathering of business owners, executives, and organizational leaders from across Maryland, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Virginia. If you're serious about growing your leadership or your business, this is the room you want to be in. Join us on October 14th at the Maryland Theater in Hagerstown, Maryland. Secure your seat at thetSLS.com. That's thetSLS.com.
I'm also excited about our sponsor. So far this season, we already have one new sponsor, Work Smarter Digital. If you have not listened to Mary Sue Dayhill's episode, she spent time with us before in a previous season, but also kicked off this season with us as well. So be sure to go back. She's been a really big support for my business and the Tri-State Leadership Summit, and I'm excited to have her on board as a sponsor of the podcast. as she sees the alignment between what I'm doing and what she believes in. So if you are interested in getting involved as a sponsor this season, there are many ways to get involved, but just shoot us an email at info@branchingoutpodcast.com. We can talk about the opportunity to work together and highlight your organization in so many different ways. We would also love to hear from you if you're having leadership challenges that you want us to unpack during an episode. We love that. So we want to hear from you and know what you're facing, or if an episode helps you. I've had so many people reach out and say, this is just what I needed to hear today. Thank you. I'm going to implement this right away. So we want to hear from you no matter what. Again, that's info@branchingoutpodcast.com, or you can find us on social media. If you are not already subscribed and getting notifications when our episodes come out, remember they come out every Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. So go ahead, follow us, subscribe so you get those notifications and you know when there's a new episode out there for you. Thank you so much for your time and spending it with us today. I hope you found value in this episode. And until next time, keep branching out. Before we wrap up today's episode, I want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for choosing to spend your time here. I don't take that lightly, and I'm really grateful you're a part of this community. If something from today's conversation resonated with you, I want to encourage you to do a couple of things. First, take one small step. Not everything, just one. Growth doesn't come from hearing more, it comes from applying what you already know. And second, share this episode with someone who could benefit from it. These conversations are meant to spark growth, and you never know who might need to hear exactly what you just heard. If you haven't already, be sure to follow or subscribe to Branching Out with Sierra so you don't miss future episodes. And if you believe in this mission, helping people apply leadership skills to everyday life, and you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, I'd love to connect. You can find more information in the show notes or reach out directly. Quick note before we close, this podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. While we share insights and experiences to support your growth, it's always important to apply what fits your situation and seek professional guidance when needed. And finally, I want you to hear this, no matter where you are in your journey, whether you are leading a team, growing a business, navigating change, or just trying to show up better each day, you are exactly where you need to be to take your next step. And you have the ability to positively influence others in every interaction you have. I'm rooting for you, I believe in your growth, and I'm here to support you along the way. Thanks for being here.